Hi, everyone. Steve Adubato. We kick off the program once again, and joining us is State Senator Teresa Ruiz, who is the Senate Majority Leader, the leader of the Democratic Party in the Senate in the great state of New Jersey. Good to see you, Senator.
How are you?
I'm doing great. How are we doing as a state of New Jersey as it relates to one of your many priorities, the top priority, the learning loss of our children in our public schools, particularly in the lower grades? Please, Senator, talk about it.
Well, we're not in a great state, all puns intended. Not something that's unique to us in the garden. It's something, a crisis, an epidemic, if you will, that's facing this country and the nation. The president, during his State of the Union, actually started talking about literacy and high dose tutoring. And we did hear it in the governor's State of the State address. I feel like it's nearly 4 years too late, but at least everyone is talking about the issue. And I want to put a pin in that for 1 second because I think folks in the space who've been in the work for over decades recognize that the achievement gap in our literacy rates facing particular students in the state and in this country have always been far from their other student counterparts. What happened during the pandemic was that it exploded and impacted general population numbers. So when we look at those third and fourth grade readers, the most critical space for looking at that data point, you have nearly 50% of that base not reaching grade level, which is epic. When you peel back and you look at African American and Latinos, it's 75 and 76 hovering.
So, Senator, you're not simply talking about it. You're doing something about it. You have a 4-bill package in the state legislature right now dealing with literacy and learning loss. Be specific. And I know that sometimes in the State House there can be insider lingo, but you'll translate it for the rest of us to understand, please.
I'll try as best as I can. So the key here was just to elevate the level of attention to it. We have an informal working group that we've all met with, all stakeholder groups, from experts in dyslexia to teachers in the classroom to union representatives to school board members, to really focus on how we can improve literacy. So the bills generically, I can parse them out separately. It's to have a curriculum in reading that it goes back and includes phonics, but is not limited to one thing. In discussions with practitioners, what we've heard was we went in one direction entirely through new literacy methods that we left behind phonics, which is clearly indicating that it's working. So it's collaborating and using all those measures because not every student is going to react the same way to different methodologies. So to have teachers have that kind of creative base to use what they can to improve reading, to create professional development, to have a reading screener, which is critically important.
A reading screener?
A screener, a test, if you will, some kind of a checkpoint for students. Most states do this, and districts do this on their own. But this is to have a uniformed one so that the State Department can also collect that information and data so that when we're going through the budget process, people often wonder is why do we need to have all these checkpoints and these data points? It's really to navigate policy and then to help me make a claim to say, look, these statistics and numbers, $2 million towards a reading initiative is not going to be enough. And so that helps us fight for more funding and resources to try and mitigate the issue. The reading screener will help the teacher. It will help the district create programs, and it will help newcomers. What we did in our bill was, and I think people lose sight of this, different districts experience different droves of students who don't speak English at different times during the school year. So it's not like they're getting that 0 to 3 here and then going through a preschool program. They're coming in third and fourth grade and beyond, not speaking any English.
Let me follow up on this. And I want to talk about the first 1,000 days NJ initiative, which you're well aware of. It's in fact, the longtime public awareness initiative we've been involved in regarding reimagined childcare is morphing into first 1,000 days NJ, which talks about important issues impacting families and children. I'm going to get to that in a minute, Senator, but also by way of background, some folks may not know that you talked about practitioners. You, in a previous life, you're smiling because you know I know, a practitioner of pre-K students in the city of Newark. You understand this not just as a senator, as a teacher, as a mother, explain to folks the devastating impact for children who struggle with the kind of literacy issues you're talking about and the learning loss exacerbated by COVID. Long-winded question, I know, please.
No, it's very simple. From the womb or 0 to 3rd grade, you learn to read. Identification of letters, sounds, putting things together in context. From 3rd grade and beyond, just you and I, even today, when you're prepping for your interviews, you're reading to learn. If you just, from a common sense approach, look at that and say, from 0 to 3rd grade, you learn to read. From 3rd grade and beyond, you read to learn. What happens to that child who doesn't have the infrastructure and the foundation to read to learn? They're destined to an obstacle, an academic career lifespan that will be filled with obstacles because everything transitions. Math begins to present itself in reading context with word problems. Science, everything is based on the science of reading and fundamentally secured in that. So if we're socially promoting students who are not prepared to move on, then we are complicit in a behavior of creating a pipeline of next generation that will not be looking to meet and reach STEM, jobs that are available, but perhaps, going down pathways that we don't even want to talk about.
Lifetime implications. Senator, I mentioned the Reimagine Childcare Initiative, which you've been on many times with us talking about. You've been a leader in the state legislature on childcare related issues. Expanding that public awareness initiative from Reimagine Childcare to the first 1,000 days, NJ, dealing with critical issues impacting families and children. Top 2 issues in that regard, families and children, protecting them, particularly in most vulnerable communities and urban communities, disproportionately Black and brown.
That is such a pregnant question filled with so many opportunities for answers. Look, I think making investment in human capital, that's making sure that the woman who you're talking globally here, right? You want to
We're talking about pregnancy, say pregnancy to age 2.
Right. Okay. So pregnancy to age 2, when the woman is pregnant, making sure she has access to prenatal care, postnatal care, that when that person comes home, they're living in I can't just answer this in 2 ways.
It's ridiculous asking you to have 2. So just go ahead.
All right. So I'm just going to tell you that making sure that that parent is going back to an apartment or a house where they feel safe and secure, that's free from lead, that when that parent is ready to go back to work, that there's accessibility to high quality preschool and infant and toddler programs, which we know there are not. And that is an infrastructure that is at the brink of crumbling if we don't continue to support it. Making sure that we make our efforts to roll out universal preschool in a very responsible way. So there isn't an unintended to current programs that really are helping the most at-risk students. And then ensuring that that child then, regardless of zip code, is going into an institution that is supporting their needs. And that, is mega filled with a lot of opportunities for different answers. But we're falling short in each one of those spaces, and the data points to that.
Senator, I want to ask you about school funding in just a second, the state school fund. Well, let's just deal with that right now. You've mentioned in previous interviews on State of Affairs. Follow up on this. We just had your colleague in the Senate, we just interviewed Senator John Bramnick. He said, Steve, this is ridiculous. 150 school districts in the state are losing funding. Tom's River losing tens of millions of dollars. Why? What is wrong with the current formula where the state provides funding to local school districts? And why are so many school districts feeling as if they're, quote, getting the shaft, to use a New Jersey expression, please?
So to pretend that I understand the school funding formula, it would be a lie. So I can only
Senator, if you don't, what about the rest of us?
Because
chair of the Senate Education Committee.
Right. It was instituted before I came in, and there's a lot of different variables that come up with the sum at the end. And so if you tinker with one thing, it could set off an unintended somewhere else. When the creators of the school funding formula, they were looking to really make sure that students who were most in need, that those wraparound services were going to be financed and resourced so that artificial wraparound program could exist. Prior to the funding formula getting to the number that it is, so many districts, SDA districts, were underfunded decades in perpetuity over and over and over again. And I'm not making an argument for one thing being better or not. I do. So we did have an extraordinary hearing, and I'm still learning about all of this. It is shocking to have a district go over one time frame to lose $10 million because
What needs to be changed?
So what happens is there are real estate values in the formula that can swing the pendulum. We know that real estate values here throughout the entire state are skyrocketing. That could be a lever. Under enrollment. So public schools across the state and the country, you are losing students. That's also one of the kickers. And so I don't know if there's enough time for districts to right size themselves. What I will tell you, this is one issue that the chairman of the budget committee and I have talked about for
Senator
some time.
Gopal, who we're actually interviewing today.
No, it's the chairman of the budget committee.
Oh,
And I'll tell you why.
Senator Sarlo?
Senator Sarlo and I have had this discussion, except we haven't figured out a way. The way New Jersey budgets for schools is irresponsible. So in February, the governor comes out and gives his state of the budget address. 2 days after that, and this is not unique to this administration. This is just common practice since before I was elected. 2 days or so after the state of the budget is presented, districts are notified with their numbers. About 5 days after that, they have to present their budgets to their county executive superintendents and then figure out. If you're getting a dramatic cut, that means also right-sizing your district. Giving pink slips to people within 2 months time frame doesn't make any sense. And so I think we need to start exploring ways where we do a 2-year budget cycle, which has several implications. It makes a determination that if I tell you, Steve, you're getting this amount of money, I certainly cannot cut it for next year, regardless as to what the budget looks like, which I would love, because the first places the administration is cut are at the school level. It might have to be somewhere else. We have to make a common sense approach and commitment to budgeting and making sure that whatever we say sticks.
And if not, how the heck are school districts supposed to plan, coordinate, figure out?
Yeah,
They don't.
you can't. It's just, it's physically impossible. And it goes both ways. If there's a district that gets a huge lump sum of money, wouldn't you want some time frame to figure out what are the needs of the district so you can really use that investment to create the best return on it? So it's something we have to look at the school funding formula without a doubt, and we have to look at the way we budget.
And we'll continue that conversation not only with Senator Ruiz, but with Senator Sarlo, the chair of the Senate Budget Committee, and Senator Vin Gopal, who's the chair who succeeded Senator Ruiz as the chair of the Senate Education Committee. Senator, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
You got it. We'll be right back after this.
I am alive today thanks to my kidney donor. I am traveling and more active than ever before.
I'm alive today thanks to my heart donor. I'm full of energy and back singing in my church choir.
I'm alive today thanks to my lung donor. I'm breathing easy and I'm enjoying life's precious moments.
There are about 4,000 people in New Jersey waiting for a life-saving transplant.
Donation needs diversity. For more information or to become an organ and tissue donor, visit njsharingnetwork.org.
Also brought to you by New Jersey Sharing Network, the Turrell Fund, a foundation serving children, Hackensack Meridian Health, keep getting better, Seton Hall University, showing the world what great minds can do since 1856, Veolia, resourcing the world, the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, moving the region through air, land, rail, and sea. IBEW Local 102, lighting the path, leading the way. The Healthcare Foundation of New Jersey, and by Eastern Atlantic States Regional Council of Carpenters,